September 2000, Dallas, Texas. Two entrepreneurs walk into a boardroom at Blockbuster headquarters. They're about to make an offer that will define the next 2 decades of entertainment. "We want to sell you our company, $50 million. The CEO barely hides his amusement. Meeting ends. 10 years later, Blockbuster is bankrupt. This is the real story of Netflix. Reed Hastings wasn't your typical tech entrepreneur. Born and raised in Boston, he graduated from Bowdoin with a math degree and went through Marine Corps training. But military life wasn't for him. He joined the Peace Corps, spending 2 years in Swaziland teaching high school mathematics. After Stanford, Hastings co-founded Pure Software in 1991. Revenue doubled every year for 4 consecutive years. In 1997, Rational Software acquired his company for $750 million. Hastings was suddenly wealthy. And then, he made the riskiest bet of his career. You've probably heard the story. The massive late fee on a rental copy of Apollo 13. Mark Randolph, Netflix's co-founder, calls this a convenient fiction. The real origin was far less dramatic. They wanted to build an e-commerce company. They landed on DVDs because they were small and durable. The Apollo 13 story is a myth. We're telling you the real version. On August 29, 1997, Hastings and Randolph officially incorporated Netflix, but the idea seemed insane. DVDs had just launched. Players cost upwards of $700. Less than 1% of Americans owned one. VHS was still king. Blockbuster was pulling in $4.5 billion a year. And Hastings was betting everything on a format almost nobody believed in. Netflix launched on April 14, 1998 with 30 employees and 925 titles. Pay-per rental, $4 per movie. Within 48 hours, traffic was so heavy they had to upgrade their servers. The demand was real. But here's the secret. It took 200 different packaging tests, mailing envelopes to himself, before finding a way to ship a DVD for a single stamp. That breakthrough was the key. By 1999, they were receiving 10,000 orders a day, but they were losing money. It was time to talk to the giant. In September 2000, Hastings and Randolph flew to Dallas to meet with Blockbuster's CEO, John Antioco. The pitch: Netflix handles the online side. Blockbuster keeps the stores. The price: $50 million. Antioco's team couldn't take it seriously. Netflix hadn't turned a profit. The meeting ended with polite dismissal. Blockbuster chose a different path, partnering with Enron. At the time, investors loved it. Netflix, meanwhile, was hemorrhaging money. By the end of 2000, Netflix reported a net loss of $57 million. Its survival looked genuinely uncertain, but Hastings held firm. In 2001, DVD player prices collapsed. For the first time, you could buy one for under $100. Then, September 11th, Americans stayed home. They watched movies. Netflix subscriptions surged. In 2002, Netflix went public. By 2003, they crossed 1 million subscribers and turned their first profit. And that's when the war began. Blockbuster launched its own service. Hastings said they threw everything but the kitchen sink at him. A brutal price war erupted. Netflix's profitability evaporated. Its stock plummeted by 75%, but they outlasted everyone. By 2010, Blockbuster filed for bankruptcy. Netflix had won the first war. In February 2007, Netflix delivered its billionth DVD, and then it made its own business obsolete. Netflix launched streaming. At first, the library was terrible, but then came the Starz deal, bringing Disney and Sony titles onto the platform. By 2010, Netflix was responsible for nearly 30% of all North American internet traffic during peak hours. Then came the pivot, original content. It started with Lilyhammer, but the show that made history was next. House of Cards. Netflix outbid HBO and AMC, ordering 2 full seasons up front for a reported $100 million. And it dropped the entire first season at once. Binge-watching had been invented. History was made. Not everything went smoothly. In 2011, the Quickster stumble cost them 800,000 subscribers. The stock dropped over 75%, but the stumble didn't stop them. By 2016, they were spending $6 billion a year on content, operating across the globe. The company that started by mailing DVDs had become the defining force in how humanity consumes entertainment. Reed Hastings and Mark Randolph destroyed the empire that laughed them out of a boardroom. Blockbuster had stores. Netflix had a red envelope. And that made all the difference. This is the story of Netflix.